Today we're going to learn how to write inequalities given a situation or like a word sentence. The very first thing we're going to do is talk about these symbols and what words mean those symbols, just kind of like what we did with addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division when we wrote equations. So I want you to kind of pause the video and I want you to sort these words into the correct column that you believe is true, and then you can resume the video to check, and then you can just change any that you had in the wrong spot. Okay, so you should be pausing the video and sorting these words into which symbol you think it would match. Okay, so by now we should have all of these words filled into our boxes, and we are just checking to see if we have them correct. So less than would be this first one. Greater than would be the second one. I'm going to shorten it up because I write too big for these spaces. So less than, greater than, less than or equal to. Would be this third one. And then greater than or equal to would be this last. All right, then we have more than. More than would be the same as greater than. Fewer than. Fewer than would be the same as less than. Okay, and these last four are the hardest ones. Okay, what I like to do with these last four is always try to think like of a situation, and I always just talk about like money in my pocket, just because it always works for any situation. So if I have at least $10 in my pocket, you don't have to copy this down, but just follow along. If I have at least $10, that means the lowest amount I have is $10. Okay, that means it's the numbers that I could have in my pocket would be more than 10 or equal to 10 because it's got to be at least 10. So if the numbers that I could list off would have to be more than 10 or equal to 10, that would be greater than or equal to. So at least, a lot of people want to think that that's less than, but if the lowest amount is the number they give you, all the other amounts have to be higher. So it's actually greater than or equal to. At most would then be the opposite. Think about if you have at most $10 in your pocket. You could have $10, okay? But you could also have less than that. So if you have at most $10, it would be less than or equal to. Okay, then we have no more than. If I have no more than $10 in my pocket, no more than $10, that means I could have $10 or I could have less if I have no more than. Okay, and then if I have no less than $10, that means I could have $10, but I have no less than $10. So then it would be greater than or equal to. The biggest ones that I see people making mistakes are with the at most and the at least. So if you want to circle those so that they stand out to you so that maybe when you're on your practice later or you ever have to look back at your notes for that, it's just standing out for you. All right, we're going to get into writing inequalities, which is why we went through the certain words that match with those symbols. And when we write inequalities, the first thing we should do is list possible solutions. Okay, we did that yesterday without even knowing it. We had to go through and for a situation, say some numbers that could be true for that situation. Like your sister is no more than 5 years old, or is at most 5 years old, or whatever. I think it was like less than 5 actually. We had to list some solutions that could be the age of your sister. We're going to do that now. Okay, and then we're going to actually write the inequality based on those numbers. So a number is less than 5. Okay, well it could be 4, could be 3, could be -7. Okay, so that number, which we're going to represent with an x, is less than 5. So we should have x is less than 5. It could be a whole bunch of different numbers. But this is how we write the inequality. It's always going to be a letter, symbol, then a number. Sometimes you'll see the letters on the other side, but we always want it on the left side, just makes it easier. Okay, and you'll understand why when we get to graphing. A number is at most -2, meaning that if the most it could be is -2, it's got to be less than that, right? At most is a symbol up here. So if it's at most -2, it could be -1. Nope, it cannot. That's actually more. It could be -3. That's what I meant to say. It could be -100. I know you guys were throwing out some crazy numbers the other day. So could be -1,000,000, whatever numbers you wanted to say. Okay. The inequality we would write then is x, which is our number, is at most means less than or equal to -2. Right? And that's how we write an inequality. But we're going to take it even a step farther. We're going to have a number, which we're going to represent with x, plus 5 is greater than 12. For ones like this where there's like adding, multiplying, dividing, we don't have to think of possible solutions. That might be a little too hard. And we just want to write it as like the number sentence like we did with equations, just left to right. Okay. So our inequality is just x plus 5 is greater than 12. If you want to pause it and try the next one on your own, you may. 4 times a number is at least 16. So 4 times a number, we'll say x, we could put that multiplication sign or we could just leave it 4x, is at least 16 means that it could be 16. And if the lowest it is 16, that means it's got to be bigger. So it's got to be greater than or equal to 16. We'll just go up and check with our table, at least greater than or 16. So we have 4x or 4 times x is greater than or equal to 16. Okay. If you're feeling comfortable, I want you to pause the video at this point and try these on your own. You are just reading the situation, listing some possible solutions, and then writing the inequality. Okay. If you still want to follow along for a couple more examples, you may, and then I'll let you know when you should be pausing. Vinny scored more than 3 goals in his hockey game. So he scored more than 3. So he could have scored 4, 5. If he was really good, he could have scored like 10. Okay, any number bigger than 3. So our inequality, we can use any letter. I always just stick with x because I'm boring. And he scored more than, greater than 3 goals. He couldn't score 3 goals because he scored more than 3, so we can't put that equal to. It's just greater than. I need 25 minutes or more to get ready in the morning. Okay, so 25 minutes or more. So I could take 26 minutes. I could take 25 minutes. I could take 40 minutes. Okay, 25 or more. So we'll use x for the amount of time we need to get ready. And that is 25 minutes or more. So greater than 25 or equal to 25 would be our inequality. The height limit of driving under the bridge is 16 feet. So think about you're driving on a road. Okay, and you're going to drive under a bridge. Think about your car can't be as tall as that bridge. Okay, it's got to be smaller than the height of what the ground to the bridge is. Otherwise, you're going to run into the bridge, right? That's why they have height requirements. So the height limit of driving under the bridge is 16 feet. Okay, meaning that your car could not be 20 feet tall because you would run into that bridge and not be able to go. Okay. So the height that your car could be is, let's say, 12 feet, which is pretty big. I would say average is probably like 7 feet, 8 feet. Okay, technically could be like 0 or negative. Wouldn't really work in this situation, but it would make the inequality true. The height limit we are representing with x. We don't know how tall your car is. Okay, is 16 feet. So these numbers have to be less than 16. Okay, since it's a limit, so they're telling you the height limit is 16 feet. It could also be equal to 16 feet because that's not the exact distance from that ground to that bridge. I'm going to guess it's probably like 16.5 feet or whatever. They're giving you those 6 inches of like wiggle room. But it could also be equal to 16 if that's the height limit. Just like when you go on a roller coaster, the height limit, you can be equal to that height or taller for the roller coaster situation. It's just like that's the, in this case, biggest or tallest that that car can be. Anyone 16 or older can drive a car. So 16 or older. Oh yeah, sorry. At this point, I would like you to pause the video and try some of these on your own if you haven't already. 16 or older. You could be 16, 17, 24. Okay. X is going to represent that age of whoever's driving the car, and they have to be greater than or equal to 16. Notice how these two situations are different. Maddox read at least 120 books. Okay, at least 120. That means the lowest amount he could have read is 120. Could have read 240. He could have read 121. Okay, at least 120. So the amount of books he read is greater than or equal to 120 books. The puppy weighs less than 3 pounds. Puppy could weigh 2 pounds. Puppy could weigh 1 pound. Puppy could weigh 1.5 pounds. Okay, lots of little numbers. We can't really go negative here because puppies can't weigh negative in this situation. So we have the weight of that puppy is less than 3 pounds. Children 2 or under get in free. 2 or under. So the child could be 2 and they'd get in for free. They could be 1 and get in for free. They could be 6 months and they would get in for free. Okay, so that children's age is equal to 2 or less than. So X is less than or equal to 2 years old. Last one, Olivia has at most $10 in her pocket. The most she has in her pocket is $10. So she could have $10. She could have 8. She could have 2. She could have 0. Okay. Olivia has at most $10. So X is going to be less than or equal to 10. Notice how writing these few possible solutions help us with those at most, those tricky words when we're writing this. You can absolutely do that on the quiz. You don't have to unless it asks you to, but it's always a good skill to use if we're getting stuck on a problem and not really sure where to go. As always, make sure we are writing that summary down below. I would talk about those keywords, those symbols, things that you're getting messed up on, and how we list possible solutions, just some things that we could summarize on what we learned today.